Then we get a pool. What is a pool? A gene pool. Does a gene pool have lifeguards?
Not when we got guys like Jonathan running around.
A didgeridoo is one of the oldest wind instruments in the world. Wind, of course, is just air that has somewhere to be. The hardest part of making a didgeridoo is removing everything that isn't a didgeridoo. Unfortunately, most trees are almost entirely not didgeridoo. You want a nice consistent bore. Too narrow and the air can't get through. Too wide and you've made a log with ambitions. Now we're getting somewhere. Not somewhere useful, but geographically speaking, somewhere. At this point, I realized I had no idea what I was doing, which meant the design phase was officially complete. Wood is one of my favorite materials. It's strong, renewable, beautiful, and most importantly, it's already made out of wood. You might be wondering why I'm doing it this way. That's because you have the benefit of hindsight. I had a gouge. So I kept gouging until the inside was sufficiently outside, then glued the two outsides back together to put the inside back inside. That's called woodworking. And then eventually we'll get a tube, a gene tube. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, a tube is just a hole with walls, and a hole without walls is just outside. Outside is just a fancy word for not inside, which isn't good for acoustics. Acoustics need an inside, otherwise they're just noise, and I already have the voices for that. Now sound is just movement that convinces matter to remember it. Wood remembers being a tree, which is why we're hollowing it out. You can't feel something until you've established the absence of what was already there. This raises the obvious question. If the whole existed before the didgeridoo, did I make the instrument, or did I simply provide the boundaries for an existing absence? Don't answer that. Just keep gouging. Every pass removes wood, and every piece of wood removed increases the amount of nothing in the wood. Normally nothing is free, but here we're manufacturing it manually. The important thing is maintaining an even wall thickness. Thickness is just the distance between two surfaces. And the surface where an object stops being itself and starts being everything else. So really, we're not measuring wood, we're measuring the separation between existence and the rest of the universe. Fortunately, the universe is expanding, so there's plenty of room. Unfortunately, the didgeridoo isn't, which means we have to continue removing material. At this point, it's difficult to determine whether I'm using the gouge to make the didgeridoo, or the didgeridoo is using me to move the gouge. That's mostly a question of agency, and agency is just causality with experience. Either way, the chips keep coming out. This is encouraging because the alternative would be chips going in, and that's generally considered assembly. Eventually, you remove enough material that the absence becomes structurally significant. That's when a hole stops being a defect and becomes a feature. Context is important too. A hole in a boat is a problem. A hole in a didgeridoo is most of the didgeridoo. Once joined, the two halves become one, except they're still two halves, just together now. But that's enough ontology. The whole is contained. The outside is outside, the inside is inside. The didgeridoo is officially in the do.